That night, Maya Collins found $10,000 in cash and a choice that would crack open a billionaire's heart. But first, she'd have to survive his test. The Moonlight Cafe smelled like burnt espresso and rain-soaked wool. Maya wiped down the counter for the third time that hour, her pharmacy textbook stacked beside the register, tabs marking chapters she'd never have time to finish. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting everything in that tired yellow glow that made 11 p.m. feel like 3 a.m. Outside, October rain hammered the sidewalk, turning the street into a river of neon reflections. She was 26. 3 years into a degree, she funded one shift at a time, with student loans that grew faster than her savings ever could. The cafe was nearly empty. Just an elderly couple nursing decaf in the corner booth and the hum of the ancient espresso machine. Maya's phone buzzed. Rent reminder, due in 4 days. She had half, that's when she saw it. A leather wallet, expensive looking, abandoned on table 7. The couple had left 10 minutes ago. Maya picked it up, felt the weight of it. Inside, crisp hundreds, a black Amex card, and a business card with embossed lettering. Nicholas Hale, CEO, Hale Property Group, and a phone number, $10,000. Cash, enough to cover rent, books, and maybe 3 months of breathing room. Maya's hands shook as she counted the bills twice. Her manager had left early. The security camera in the corner had been broken for weeks. Nobody would know. She could say she never found it. She could walk away from another month of rice and instant noodles. Another rejection letter from scholarship programs. Another night calculating how to stretch $7 until Friday. But her grandmother's voice echoed in her head. Character is what you do when nobody's watching, Mija. Maya pulled out her phone and dialed the number on the business card. It rang 4 times. Then a man's voice, clipped and cold. Yes? Hi, I'm calling about a wallet. You left it at the Moonlight Cafe on... Keep it. Maya blinked. I'm sorry, what? If you want to keep it, keep it. If not, leave it at the front desk of Hale Tower, 42nd floor. Tomorrow by noon. The line went dead. She stared at her phone. No thank you, no relief. Just dismissal. Like $10,000 was pocket change. Like her honesty meant nothing. The rain had turned into a downpour by the time Maya's shift ended at midnight. She stood under the cafe awning, wallet tucked inside her jacket, and made a choice. Not tomorrow, tonight. Because if she waited until morning, she might talk herself out of it. The cab ride across the city cost $32 she didn't have. Hale Tower rose 48 stories into the storm, all glass and steel and after-hours silence. The night security guard, badge read Torre, raised an eyebrow when Maya walked in, soaked through, asking for the 42nd floor. You have an appointment? I'm returning something to Mr. Hale. Torres picked up the phone, listened, hung up. He says come up. The elevator had mirrors on 3 sides. Maya caught her reflection. Damp hair, rumpled uniform, pharmacy textbook still visible in her backpack. She looked exactly like what she was, out of place. The doors opened to a hallway of polished marble and recessed lighting. Assistant waited, expression neutral. This way. Nicholas Hale stood at the floor-to-ceiling window of his office, hands in his pockets, watching the storm. He didn't turn when Maya entered. She set the wallet on his desk. Everything's there. He finally looked at her. Mid-30s, sharp jaw, eyes that calculated before they spoke. You took a cab across the city at midnight. In a storm. You left $10,000 on a cafe table. That's not an answer. He picked up the wallet, checked the contents with the barest glance, then set it down again. Most people would have called in the morning. Or not at all. I'm not most people. Something shifted in his expression. Not quite a smile, but close. Apparently not. What's your name? Maya Collins. And what do you do, Maya Collins, besides return wallets in thunderstorms? I'm a pharmacy student. And a waitress. Currently wet and regretting my life choices. The words came out sharper than she'd intended, but exhaustion had burned through her filter. This time, he did smile. Barely. Torres will call you a car. Paid for, and he reached into his desk drawer, pulled out his checkbook. For your trouble. I don't want money for doing the right thing. Then you're the first honest person I've met in 3 years. Maya turned to leave, but his voice stopped her at the door. Wait, he scribbled something on the back of a business card. There's a community fund I'm launching. Urban scholarships. We need someone who understands what it's like to choose between textbooks and rent. Call this number Monday. She took the card, suspicious. Why? Because I want to see if you're real. He said it quietly, like a confession, like a test. Maya called the number Monday morning, half convinced it had been some fever dream brought on by rain and sleep deprivation. A woman answered, professional, efficient. Ms. Collins, yes, Mr. Hale mentioned you. We have an internship opening. 20 hours a week, flexible schedule around your classes. Starting salary covers tuition plus living expenses. When can you start? Maya nearly dropped her phone. This week? Tomorrow, actually. We're fast-tracking the scholarship pilot. Mr. Hale wants boots on the ground, not just boardroom theory. She showed up Tuesday at 9 a.m. to a glass office building in the financial district, armed with a leather portfolio she'd borrowed from a classmate and a blazer that didn't quite fit. The Hale Foundation occupied the third floor, smaller than she'd expected, with exposed brick and plants everywhere. Real plants, not the fake corporate kind. Nicholas was in a meeting. His assistant, a woman named Keisha with sharp eyeliner and a sharper gaze, walked Maya through the basics. You'll be researching scholarship recipients, processing applications, liaising with schools. Real work, not coffee runs. Mr. Hale doesn't do performative charity. And what does Mr. Hale do? Keisha smiled. Tests people. You pass the first one, the wallet. He leaves it in different places. Coffee shops, airports, hotel lobbies. 90% keep it or turn it in to lost and found. You're the first person who tracked him down at midnight. Keisha leaned in, conspiratorial. Between you and me, he's been burned before. Business partner, ex-fiancé, even family. He trusts systems now, not people. You're the exception that's making him reconsider. Maya felt something cold settle in her chest. So this job is real, the work is real. The foundation is real. But yes, he's watching to see if you stay honest when you have access to real money and real power. Keisha straightened. All business again. Don't take it personally. It's how he operates. Prove yourself, and you'll have more opportunities than you can imagine. Disappoint him and you're gone before lunch. The rules were simple. Confidentiality agreement, access to foundation accounts within reason, weekly reports submitted directly to Nicholas, and absolute transparency. Any expense over $500 required dual approval. Every grant decision needed documentation. No exceptions. Maya signed the paperwork, hands steadier than she expected. If this was a test, she'd ace it the same way she'd aced organic chemistry, with brutal honesty and twice the effort of everyone else. That afternoon, Nicholas appeared in the doorway of her borrowed office. Settling in? Keisha told me about the wallet. About the test, he didn't flinch. And I think it's sad, she met his eyes, that you have to manufacture integrity instead of just trusting people. Trust is expensive. I've paid enough. So have I. Different currency. Maya turned back to her computer, dismissing him the way he'd dismissed her on that phone call. But I'm still here. Make of that what you will. He left without another word, but she caught his reflection in her monitor. A brief, puzzled smile before he disappeared down the hall. The Hale Foundation's first public event was a donor dinner at the Pierre Hotel. Black tie, 200 guests, the kind of room where waiters moved like shadows and every conversation had a price tag. Maya had never owned anything fancy enough for a place like this. She showed up in a borrowed navy dress and heels that pinched, feeling like an understudy who'd wandered onto the wrong stage. Nicholas found her near the coat check, tugging at her necklace. You look uncomfortable. That's because I am. This dress cost more than my car. You have a car? A Civic with a cracked windshield and a check engine light that's been on since 2019. But it runs. She smoothed the dress. Barely, he almost laughed. Actually laughed. Come on. I'll introduce you to people who write checks with more zeros than your student loans. The evening was a blur of handshakes and practiced smiles. Maya's job was simple. Talk about the scholarship pilot, share her story, make it real for people who'd never worried about textbook costs. She was mid-conversation with a hedge fund manager when she saw it. A woman across the room, late 20s, expensive jewelry, leaning close to Nicholas with the kind of familiarity that came from history. Keisha appeared at Maya's elbow. That's Vanessa, ex-fiancé. The one who tried to merge his company with her father's real estate empire by forging his signature on a partnership agreement. He caught it 3 days before the wedding. Maya watched Nicholas extricate himself, polite but cold. Vanessa followed him to the bar. 20 minutes later, Vanessa was at the microphone, champagne in hand, announcing a surprise donation on behalf of my dear friend Nicholas and our shared vision for education equity. The subtext was clear. She was reclaiming territory, rewriting history, making herself the hero of a story she'd tried to steal. Nicholas's jaw tightened. Before he could respond, Maya was moving. She took the microphone with a server's grace, all practiced ease and borrowed confidence. Thank you, Vanessa. That's incredibly generous. And speaking of generosity, I want to recognize the people who make this work happen behind the scenes. She proceeded to name every staff member, every volunteer, every scholarship recipient by name, with details Vanessa couldn't possibly match. The room shifted. Applause. Real applause, not the polite kind. By the time Maya handed the microphone back, Vanessa's moment had evaporated. Nicholas found her after, near the coat check again. That was petty? Strategic. Also accurate. You memorized all 37 applications? I read them. Same thing. Maya slipped off her painful heels, carrying them by the straps. She was trying to buy her way back into your life. I just reminded everyone why she lost her place in the first place. He looked at her differently then. Not like a test subject, like a partner. Those shoes cost $800, I know. Your assistant rented them. I'm returning them tomorrow with a thank you note. She met his eyes. I don't keep things that aren't mine. Not wallets, not credit, not moments. Nicholas smiled. A real smile this time, the kind that reached his eyes. Good. Outside rain started again, softer than that first night. Nicholas offered her a ride. She accepted, and somewhere between the hotel lobby and the car, something shifted. The test was over. What came next was anyone's guess. 3 weeks into the internship, Maya had processed 42 scholarship applications and identified a pattern. Half the rejections weren't about grades or merit, they were about presentation. Kids from underfunded schools didn't know how to format a resume, didn't have adults who could proofread essays, didn't understand that a college admissions office wouldn't overlook a typo just because the story behind it was heartbreaking. She mentioned it to Nicholas during their Friday check-in. He was reading grant proposals, blue pen in hand, marking margins with notes that looked more like surgical annotations than edits. So fix it. I'm sorry. You see a problem, fix it. That's why you're here. He didn't look up from the page. Build a workshop series. Partner with guidance counselors. Make it scalable. Maya stared at him. At her last job, suggesting a new filing system had required 3 meetings and a memo. Just like that? You've earned autonomy. Use it, she did. Within 2 weeks, she'd organized Saturday workshops at 3 high schools in the Bronx, Queens, and Brooklyn. Application boot camps, essay coaching, resume building. She recruited college students to volunteer, convinced a copy shop to donate printing, and convinced Nicholas to show up to the first session as a guest speaker. He arrived 20 minutes early, in jeans and a Columbia hoodie that made him look less like a CEO and more like someone's older brother. The kids didn't know who he was until Maya introduced him. Even then, they were skeptical. Rich guy slumming it for photo ops. She'd seen that exact expression on her own face plenty of times. Nicholas didn't give a speech. Instead, he sat at a table with 6 juniors struggling with personal statements and asked questions. Real questions. Why do you want to study engineering? Not what sounds good to admissions, what actually drives you. When a girl named Destiny said she wanted to design better dialysis machines because her mom spent 15 hours a week in treatment, Nicholas pulled out his phone and showed her patent diagrams from medical tech companies, explaining how innovations moved from concept to market. By the end of the session, Destiny had a draft essay that made Maya tear up. They were packing up when a guidance counselor approached, Ms. Patterson, 50s, with the exhausted competence of someone who'd been fighting the system for decades. Mr. Hale, I need to be honest. We've had donors come through before. Big promises, press releases, then nothing. These kids don't need more disappointment. Nicholas handed her his business card, the one with his direct line. Call me if a single student doesn't get the support I promised, personally. I'll fix it. Ms. Patterson studied him. Then she smiled, tired but genuine. You might actually mean that. He does. Maya surprised herself by saying it. I didn't believe it either. But he does. On the drive back, Nicholas was quiet. Finally, you defended me. I defended the foundation. There's a difference, is there? Maya watched the city slide past through rain-streaked windows. Ask me in 6 months, but something had changed. The air in the car felt different. Less like a job interview, more like a partnership. When Nicholas dropped her off at her apartment building, a 4th-floor walk-up in Washington Heights, he actually got out to walk her to the door. She saw him notice the broken intercom, the graffiti in the stairwell, the flickering hallway light. You could afford somewhere safer now. I like my neighbors. Mrs. Chen brings me soup when I'm studying late. Marcus downstairs lets me borrow his printer. Money doesn't buy that. She unlocked her door. Thanks for today. The kids needed to see someone who didn't talk down to them. Nicholas leaned against the doorframe. You mean someone who didn't talk down to you? Maya froze. Excuse me? That's what this is about, right? You see yourself in those kids. The ones everyone underestimates because they don't have the right zip code or the right connections. He said it gently, not like a criticism. It's why you're good at this. You remember what it feels like? She didn't know what to say to that, to being seen that clearly, so she just nodded. Good night, Nicholas. Nick. He said it on his way down the stairs. People I trust call me Nick. If you're wondering how Maya earned that trust in 9 or what happens when trust turns into something more complicated, hit subscribe and drop a comment below. This story is just getting started. The Foundation's 6-month gala was supposed to be a celebration. $6 million raised, 83 scholarships awarded, partnerships with 12 schools. The board wanted speeches, photo opportunities, a victory lap. Maya wanted to skip it entirely. She had midterms in 4 days and a pharmacology exam that made organic chemistry look simple. But Nicholas asked her to come. Not as staff, as his guest. I don't have anything to wear to a plaza ballroom. He had an assistant deliver 3 dresses to her apartment the next day. All her size, none with price tags. The note said, pick whichever makes you feel powerful. Return the others. And she chose black. Simple, elegant. The kind of dress that didn't apologize for existing. The gala was everything she'd expected. Champagne towers, string quartets, donors and designer everything. But it was also something she hadn't expected, genuine. The speeches weren't performative. Scholarship recipients spoke about acceptances to MIT, Howard, Stanford. Teachers thanked the foundation by name. Ms. Patterson was there introducing Destiny, who'd gotten into Columbia's engineering program with a full ride. Maya was watching from the side of the ballroom when Vanessa reappeared. This time with a date, some venture capitalist with practice charm and a Patek Philippe watch. She made a point of stopping by Maya's table. Still playing Cinderella, I see. Maya sipped her water. Still trying to crash parties you weren't invited to? Oh, honey, I'm on the donor list. $25,000 annual. That buys me access. Vanessa leaned in, voice low enough that only Maya could hear. You're a project to him. A redemption arc. He's testing you the same way he tested me. Difference is I figured it out before I got attached. Did you? Because from here it looks like you're still trying to get his attention 3 years later. Vanessa's smile sharpened. He left a wallet in a cafe as bait. He hired you because you took it to him instead of keeping it. He's building a portfolio of your good deeds, so when you inevitably disappoint him, he has receipts. It's what he does. Documents everything. Trust nothing. You think this is romance? It's risk management. Before Maya could respond, Nicholas was there, hand light on her shoulder. Vanessa, your date is looking for you. Something about leaving early for a flight to Aspen. Vanessa straightened, pasted on a society smile. Nicholas, lovely event. Give my best to your mother. She glided away, all grace and venom. Maya turned to Nicholas. Is it true? Is what true? The wallet. Was it bait, a test? He didn't answer immediately. That was answer enough. Let's talk outside. The plaza terrace overlooked Central Park, all autumn lights and cold November air. Maya wrapped her arms around herself. Nicholas shrugged off his jacket and draped it over her shoulders without asking. It smelled like cedar and something expensive she couldn't name. Yes. He said it quietly, looking at the skyline instead of her. I left the wallet at the cafe on purpose. I've done it before. In airports, hotel lobbies, train stations, most people keep the cash. Some turn it in to lost and found. You're the only one who tracked me down at midnight in a storm to return it personally. So I'm a social experiment. You were, initially. He turned to face her, but that ended the night you showed up soaking wet and refused payment. Everything since then, the job, the workshops, this, he gestured between them, is real. I hired you because you're brilliant at this work, because those kids need someone who understands them, because you challenge me in ways I didn't know I needed. And the part where you documented my good behavior for future leverage? Vanessa was projecting. I document everything because I've been burned by people who rewrite history when it suits them. It's not personal. It's survival. He exhaled, breath visible in the cold air. But with you, I don't want to keep score. I want to stop testing. I just don't know how. Maya studied him. The careful posture, the measured words, the way he held himself like someone expecting betrayal. You could start by trusting me. I do. No. You trust my pattern of behavior. That's different. She slipped his jacket off her shoulders, handed it back. I need to go, midterms, Maya. I'm not angry. I'm just tired of being someone's hypothesis. She headed for the door, then stopped. For what it's worth? I wasn't trying to pass a test. I was just doing what my grandmother taught me. Return what isn't yours. Show up when you say you will. Care about people more than profit. If that made me useful to you, fine. But don't confuse that with knowing me. She left him on that terrace, city lights reflecting off glass towers, looking more alone than any billionaire should. Maya didn't hear from Nicholas for 8 days. No calls, no meetings, no Friday check-ins. Keisha said he was dealing with a merger in London and wouldn't be back until Thanksgiving. Part of Maya was relieved. The other part, the part she wasn't ready to examine, felt abandoned. She threw herself into work, processed applications, built partnerships with community colleges, responded to emails from students who needed an advocate when financial aid fell through. On day 9, she stayed late to finish a grant proposal, the office empty except for security and the hum of the heating system kicking on. That's when she found it. A file folder unmarked left on her desk. Inside, photographs, old ones, edges worn. A much younger Nicholas, maybe 19 or 20, standing outside a community college in Queens, wearing a cafeteria worker's uniform, holding a tray of food, smiling, genuinely smiling. The kind of expression she'd never seen on the man she knew. There was a handwritten letter underneath, addressed to Financial Aid Office, Columbia University. The handwriting was careful, the kind that came from someone unused to formal writing. The letter explained that Nicholas Hale had been working 2 jobs to support his younger sister after their father's real estate company collapsed from fraud charges. That he'd earned his GED at 21. That he was reapplying to Columbia after 3 deferrals. At the bottom of the file, an acceptance letter. Dated 6 years after his first application, and a note scrawled in the margins in different ink. Persistence isn't weakness, it's proof. Maya looked up to find Nicholas in the doorway, back from London apparently. He looked exhausted. I thought you should know. Know what? That I understand what it's like to be underestimated, to have people assume you're not serious because you're not conventional, to do everything right and still get rejected because you don't fit their image. He stepped into the office. My father committed wire fraud to cover gambling debts. Lost everything. Went to prison. I worked at a cafeteria in Queens for 3 years to keep my sister in high school. I applied to Columbia 5 times before they let me in, not because I wasn't qualified, because my last name was associated with scandal. Maya set the folder down carefully. Why are you telling me this? Because you're right. I don't know how to trust without documentation, but I'm trying. He pulled something from his pocket, a key, physical, brass, old-fashioned. This is to my family's house in Connecticut, the one I inherited when my mother passed 2 years ago. No staff, no security system, no cameras, just furniture and memories and about 10 years of mail I haven't sorted. I need to clean it out before I sell it. I could hire someone, but I'd like your help. Why mine? Because you won't try to steal anything. And because, he hesitated, I don't want to do it alone. It was the most vulnerable thing he'd ever said to her. Maya picked up the key. Solid, real, proof of something she wasn't sure she wanted to name. When? This weekend. If you're free. She should have said no. Should have maintained professional distance. Should have remembered that this man had tested her, documented her, treated her like a variable in an equation. But she looked at those photographs again, saw the boy in the cafeteria uniform who'd worked his way from nowhere to everything, and realized he wasn't just testing her. He was testing himself, seeing if he could let someone in without contracts or contingencies. "I'll bring coffee," she said. "You bring the trash bags. Stick with us, because what Maya finds in that Connecticut house is about to change everything." Comment below if you've ever helped someone face their past, and don't forget to subscribe for the next chapter. The house was in Litchfield County, 2 hours north of the city, tucked behind oak trees that had lost most of their leaves to November wind. It wasn't a mansion, just a large colonial with blue shutters and a porch that wrapped around the front. The kind of place that looked like it should have a family inside. Laughter, holidays, life. Instead, it was silent. Nicholas unlocked the door, and the smell hit immediately. Not decay, but absence. Dust and closed windows and time. The furniture was covered in white sheets like ghosts of comfort. Mail piled on the entry table, sympathy cards mostly from 2 years ago. Some never opened. Maya set down the coffee and the box of trash bags. "When's the last time you were here?" "The funeral. I stayed one night, then left and never came back." Nicholas pulled a sheet off the couch. Underneath the fabric was floral, old, loved. "My mother bought this house with her first commission check. She was a real estate agent, back when women weren't supposed to be. My father hated it, said it was too far from the city, too small for the Hale name. She bought it anyway, kept it separate from his business. Turns out that's what saved it when everything else got seized." They worked in silence for a while, boxing up clothes for donation, sorting through kitchen drawers full of receipts and coupons and recipe cards in elegant handwriting. Maya found a photo album in the living room, leather-bound and heavy. She opened it carefully. Inside, Nicholas as a child, maybe 8, standing next to a woman with his eyes and a smile that reached them. His mother. A teenage girl beside him, his sister presumably. All 3 of them in front of this same house, holding a sold sign and grinning. She was proud of this place, Maya said softly. Nicholas looked over her shoulder. "Yeah, she was," his voice caught. "I should have come back sooner. Before I listed it. Before I decided to just sell it and forget. You're here now. Because you're here. I couldn't do this alone." He said it like a confession, like admitting weakness. After Vanessa, after the business partner who tried to force a merger by forging documents, after my father. He stopped. Started again. "I built walls, high ones, with contracts and contingencies and tests that gave me control. But control isn't the same as connection. And I didn't realize how lonely I'd become until you showed up at my office at midnight, soaking wet, refusing payment for basic decency." Maya closed the album. "Nick, let me finish, please." He turned to face her fully. "You scare me. Because you don't want anything from me except honesty. You don't need my money or my name or my connections. You showed up to that first workshop because the kids needed help, not because I asked. You defended the foundation to Miss Patterson before you defended me. You're not performing goodness for an audience. You just are good, and I don't know what to do with that." The confession hung between them like something fragile. Maya wanted to make a joke, deflect, retreat to the safety of professionalism. But she was tired of safety, tired of pretending this was just a job. "I'm not that good. I kept your jacket after the gala, the one you gave me on the terrace. I told myself I'd return it, but I didn't. Because it smells like you and I wanted something to hold on to when I thought you'd disappeared again." Nicholas stared at her. Then slowly he smiled, a real smile, the kind from those old photographs. "You stole my jacket. I borrowed it indefinitely. That's the definition of stealing. I prefer extended loan." She was smiling now too, despite herself. "Despite everything. Are you going to fire me?" "No." He stepped closer. Close enough that she could see the gold flecks in his eyes, the shadow of exhaustion under them. "I'm going to ask if I can kiss you. Because I'm done testing. I'm done documenting. I'm done pretending this is just professional respect." Maya's heart was hammering. "That's a terrible idea." "Probably. It violates at least 3 HR policies. I'll rewrite them. I'm still an intern. There's a power imbalance. Then I'll promote you, make you director. Full salary, full autonomy, full equity stake in the foundation. Take away the imbalance." He was serious. completely serious. Or I'll step back. Let the board run operations. Whatever you need to feel safe saying yes, Maya laughed. Couldn't help it. You're actually trying to solve this with logistics. I solve everything with logistics. It's a problem. Yeah, it is. She reached up, touched his face. His jaw tensed under her palm like he was bracing for rejection. But maybe I'm the solution you didn't plan for. The kiss was gentle, tentative, like both of them were learning a language they'd forgotten. He tasted like coffee and possibility. When they pulled apart, Maya kept her hand on his face. This doesn't fix everything. You still have trust issues. I'm still chronically busy and bad at work-life balance. We're going to mess this up. Probably. Nicholas covered her hand with his, but I'd rather mess it up with you than succeed alone. Outside, November rain started again. Inside, they sat on that floral couch and finished the photo album together, Maya learning the shape of his childhood, while he told her stories about his mother's terrible cooking and his sister's college acceptance speech. And the first time he realized his father's promises were lies. Somewhere between the past and the present, between test and trust, something new was built. Fragile, real. Proof that sometimes the right answer is the one you don't plan for. Maya was promoted to Director of Community Partnerships the Monday after Thanksgiving. Full salary. Office with a window. Business cards with her name in embossed lettering. Keisha organized a small celebration. Cake, sparkling cider. A speech from Nicola that managed to be both professional and warm without crossing lines. But the whispers started immediately. She's sleeping with the boss. 6 months from waitress to director? Please. Didn't even finish her degree. Maya heard them in the break room, in the elevator, in the bathroom between stalls. She ignored them. She'd faced worse skepticism and survived. What mattered was the work. The 93 scholarships they'd awarded. The partnerships with 18 schools. The measurable outcomes that proved this wasn't charity theater. Then the email arrived. It came from an anonymous account, sent to the Foundation's general inbox but CC'd to every board member. The subject line, Conflict of Interest, Hale Foundation Leadership. Inside, a timeline. Dates, locations, amounts. All accurate. All presented to look damning. November 2nd, Maya Collins returns wallet containing $10,000 cash to Nicholas Hale. November 5th, Nicholas Hale offers Maya Collins internship. Starting salary $52,000. November 18th, Nicholas Hale pays for Maya Collins's Uber, dinner, dress rental for donor event. November 30th, Maya Collins given access to foundation accounts up to $5,000 discretionary spending. December 14th, Nicholas Hale and Maya Collins travel together to Connecticut overnight trip. December 18th, Maya Collins promoted to director, salary $120,000 plus equity. The conclusion was clear. Maya had used the wallet as bait. Seduced the boss. Traded integrity for advancement. The email included screenshots from an anonymous Twitter account, already gaining traction, calling for an independent audit of the Foundation's finances and questioning whether poor girl Cinderella stories are just covers for embezzlement. Maya stared at her screen, coffee going cold in her hands. Every fact was true, but the narrative was poison. It took her honesty and weaponized it, made her survival look like strategy. Keisha appeared in her doorway, expression grim. Board wants an emergency meeting tonight. They're bringing lawyers. Of course they are. Maya's voice sounded distant, not quite her own. Nicholas was in back-to-back meetings all day, unreachable. His assistant said he was in Connecticut finalizing the house sale, phone off. Maya spent 6 hours preparing her defense. Bank statements showing she'd paid her own tuition, rent, expenses. Emails proving her scholarship recommendations were based on merit, not favoritism. A log of every foundation expenditure she'd authorized, down to the dollar. By the time the board meeting started at 7 p.m., she had 30 pages of documentation and a sick feeling in her stomach that documentation wouldn't matter. The boardroom was cold, all glass and leather and judgment. 8 members, 3 lawyers, Keisha taking notes. The board chair, a silver-haired woman named Diane who'd made her fortune in tech, got straight to it. Ms. Collins, these allegations are concerning. Not because we doubt your competence, but because the appearance of impropriety damages the Foundation's credibility. We need transparency. Maya handed out her binders, sat down. met each board member's eyes. Everything in that timeline is true. I did return Mr. Hale's wallet. He did offer me a job. We did travel to Connecticut together. I was promoted based on merit, but I understand how it looks. She paused. What the email doesn't mention is that I processed 600 applications in 4 months, built sustainable partnerships with community organizations, secured matching grants worth twice my salary. And yes, I'm in a relationship with Nicholas Hale. But that relationship began after I proved myself professionally. Not before. One of the lawyers leaned forward. Can you prove the timeline? That the relationship came after your professional success. Maya's stomach dropped. Because no, she couldn't. The kiss in Connecticut happened the same week she was promoted. To anyone looking for scandal, it looked exactly like what they were accusing her of. I can provide testimony, references from teachers, students, partner organizations. They'll confirm my work ethic and integrity. Testimony isn't proof. Diane's voice was kind but firm. In the nonprofit world, perception is reality. If donors believe there's financial impropriety, they pull funding. If students believe scholarships go to favorites, they don't apply. We need ironclad evidence that you earned this position independent of your personal relationship. Or, Maya's voice was steady but her hands shook. Or we recommend you step down voluntarily while we conduct an independent audit. With full pay, of course. Think of it as temporary leave. Administrative leave is what you give people you're about to fire. Maya stood. I've done nothing wrong. My relationship with Nick is my business. My work stands on its own. If you want to audit the foundation, fine. Audit it. You'll find that every dollar is accounted for, every decision documented, every scholarship awarded fairly. But I'm not stepping down because someone sent an anonymous email designed to destroy my credibility. The room was silent. Then Diane, we admire your conviction, Ms. Collins, but the board needs to vote on this. We'll notify you of our decision by Friday. Maya left the building at 9 p.m. exhausted and furious and terrified. She'd done everything right. Built systems, documented outcomes, maintained ethics. And still, someone had turned her story into scandal. The worst part? She had no idea who or why, or how to fight an enemy without a face. The board's decision could end everything Maya's built. And the real mastermind behind the email is closer than she thinks. Comment below. Have you ever been accused of something you didn't do? And hit subscribe, because the next part reveals who's pulling the strings. Nicholas returned from Connecticut Thursday night. Maya's phone buzzed at 11 p.m. Where are you? Home, packing, silence. Then, I'm coming over. He arrived 20 minutes later, still in his coat, holding a manila folder she recognized. The anonymous email, printed and marked with sticky notes. He looked like he hadn't slept. Keisha told me about the board meeting. Why didn't you call? You were unreachable. And honestly, Maya shoved another textbook into a box. I didn't want you to fix it. This is my problem. It's our problem. No, Nick, it's mine. You're the billionaire philanthropist with the impeccable reputation. I'm the waitress who got lucky. Guess which story people believe. She kept packing, movements sharp with frustration. The board wants me gone. They'll vote tomorrow. Temporary leave, permanent damage. Either way, I'm the scandal. Nicholas set the folder down. Let me talk to them. I'll explain. Explain what? That you fell for me? That'll make it worse. They'll think I seduced you for money and access. Maya finally looked at him. I've spent my entire life proving I'm more than people's assumptions. Smart enough despite the zip code. Competent despite the degree I haven't finished. Honest despite being broke, and now none of it matters because someone decided to make me look like a gold digger. We'll find out who sent it. IP addresses, email forensics, and then what? Sue them. That makes me look even more defensive. Rich guy's girlfriend attacking critics. She laughed, bitter. I can't win this. The only way I keep my integrity is by walking away. You're quitting? I'm resigning tomorrow before the board votes. Before this gets uglier. Before you have to choose between me and the foundation. She taped up the box. I'll finish my degree. Find another job. Somewhere nobody knows about wallets or tests or billionaires who save broken girls. Nicholas flinched. You're not broken. Neither are you. But we both came into this damaged, and maybe that was the problem. We were so busy testing each other, documenting each other, protecting ourselves from betrayal that we forgot. Her voice cracked. We forgot that sometimes people are exactly who they appear to be. And that's terrifying because it means you can actually lose them. Maya, I need you to go, please. She wouldn't look at him. Couldn't. If you stay, I'll change my mind. And I can't afford to do that. He left without another word. The door clicked shut, and Maya sat on her apartment floor surrounded by boxes and wondered when doing the right thing had started feeling like punishment. Friday morning, she submitted her resignation letter to the board. Professional, gracious, no accusations or defenses. Just a clean exit. By noon, it was on Twitter. By 3 p.m., the think pieces started. Hale Foundation scandal forces director out. Cinderella story ends in shame. When charity becomes personal, her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Messages from students asking if the scholarships were safe. Emails from teachers wondering if the partnerships would continue. A voicemail from Ms. Patterson that just said, "Call me, please." Maya turned off her phone, climbed into bed at 4 p.m., and let herself just for a moment feel the full weight of losing something she'd built with her own hands. Maya didn't leave her apartment all weekend. Sunday night, someone knocked. She assumed it was Nicholas. Opened the door ready to send him away. Instead, Keisha holding a laptop and a Starbucks bag. "I'm not supposed to be here. If the board finds out, I'm probably fired." Keisha pushed past Maya into the apartment. "But I found something, and you need to see it before you disappear forever like some tragic Netflix heroine." Maya closed the door. "Keisha, shut up and sit down, please." Keisha opened the laptop, pulled up an email thread. "I've been digging into that anonymous email. The one that tanked your career. Whoever sent it was smart. Used a VPN, burner email, no digital fingerprints. But they made one mistake." "What mistake?" "They knew too much." Keisha scrolled through the timeline. "Look at the specifics. November 18th. Nicholas Hale pays for Maya Collins's Uber dinner dress rental. That dinner wasn't foundation business. It wasn't logged anywhere. The only people who knew about it were you, Nick, and whoever processed his personal credit card statement." Maya's stomach tightened. His accountant, who's been with the Hale family for 15 years, who also happens to be... Keisha pulled up a corporate filing. Vanessa Thorne's uncle, Robert Thorne, CPA, same last name, same address listed on her charity donation receipts. The pieces clicked into place. Vanessa had access to Nick's financial records. Through her uncle, yeah. And get this. Keisha opened another file. Robert Thorne sent an invoice to Vanessa's company 3 days before the email went out. For consulting services, $25,000, which is a weird amount to pay for basic tax prep unless you're paying for something else, like private financial information to build a timeline. Exactly. Keisha leaned back. But here's the problem. This is circumstantial. We can prove the connection, show the payment, demonstrate access, but we can't prove intent. Any decent lawyer will say the timeline was built from public information, donor events, foundation announcements, things that were technically visible. Maya stared at the screen. So we're back where we started. Vanessa destroys my reputation and I can't fight back because I can't prove she did it. Actually, Keisha pulled up one more file. You can, because I found something else while I was digging through foundation emails. It was a draft message, never sent, dated 2 weeks before the anonymous email went out, from an email address that resolved to Robert Thorne's home IP. The draft read, Vanessa, here's the timeline you requested. Note that the relationship likely started mid-November, based on expense patterns, overnight travel, personal dinner charges. Recommend framing it as progressive corruption rather than one-time incident. Build public narrative around poor girl seduces rich man for maximum damage. Let me know if you need additional documentation. Armaya read it 3 times. He drafted it but never sent it. Probably realized email left a trail. Likely told her in person instead. But he kept the draft. Forgot to delete it. And because he used his work email briefly before switching to burner accounts, it got archived in our system. I only found it because I ran a keyword search on your name across all Foundation communications. This is it. This is proof. Maya looked up. Premeditation, conspiracy, access to private information. We have her. We have her uncle, who'll take the fall before he lets his niece go down. Keisha closed the laptop. Unless we get a witness. Someone who'll testify that Vanessa specifically orchestrated this. Someone who was there when the plan was made. Who would do that? She's a socialite with money and lawyers. Robert Thorne's assistant might, if she's motivated. Keisha pulled up a LinkedIn profile. Julia Chen, 26, worked for Robert for 3 years. And according to her Venmo history, Keisha showed her phone. She's been Venmoing rent to an address in Queens. Same building as one of our scholarship recipients, Destiny, the engineering student. Maya's eyes widened. She knows someone we helped. Better. She's Destiny's older cousin, the one who helped proofread her application essays. Keisha grinned, and I'm betting she didn't know what her boss was using that timeline for until it went public and destroyed the program that helped her. Family, and you want to flip the assistant? I want to give her a reason to tell the truth. With proof of what Robert was paid, what Vanessa requested, and testimony about the plan, we have the full triad de provas. Evidence, witness, and... Keisha pulled up one last document. This, an affidavit from Robert's former law partner, confirming that Vanessa consulted him in October about how to legally discredit a nonprofit director. He declined the work, documented the conversation per bar requirements, and was willing to testify if subpoenaed. Maya stared at the evidence. Physical documentation, witness testimony, legal validation from an officer of the court. Everything needed to prove conspiracy. Why are you showing me this instead of Nick? Because you're the one who was wronged. And because, Keisha's voice softened, you deserve to be the one who decides what happens next. Fight back or walk away. Either way, it's your choice. Maya looked at the evidence. Thought about Destiny, Ms. Patterson. The 93 students who'd gotten scholarships because someone finally believed in them. Thought about the foundation she'd built, the work that mattered more than her pride. Set up a meeting with Julia Chen, Maya said, and get me a lawyer. Not a foundation lawyer. A real one. Because Vanessa doesn't get to destroy what we built just because she couldn't get Nick back. Keisha smiled. Now you sound like a director. Julia Chen met them Tuesday morning at a coffee shop in Astoria. Nervous, guilt written on her face before she even sat down. Maya let Keisha do the opening. Softer approach. They'd rehearsed this. Julia, we're not here to get you in trouble. We know you didn't create the timeline, but we think you know who did. Julia wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. I can't. He'll sue me for breach of confidentiality. I signed an NDA. NDAs don't protect illegal activity, Maya said gently, and what Robert and Vanessa did wasn't just unethical. It was defamation, possibly fraud if any donations were withdrawn based on false information. I have student loans, a sick mom. I can't afford lawyers. Neither can I. Maya leaned forward. But I can afford to lose everything if it means the foundation survives. Those scholarships, they're going to kids like your cousin, like me, kids who need someone to believe in them when nobody else will. Vanessa tried to destroy that because she was jealous. And Robert helped her because she paid him. They used you, Julia. They used your work, your access, your ethics, and left you holding the bag while they stayed clean. Julia's eyes filled. I didn't know what the timeline was for. Robert said it was for estate planning. Family trust stuff. By the time I realized, she stopped. Started over. Vanessa came to the office in October. I heard them talking through the door. She said, I want her gone, discredited, I don't care how. Robert told her it would cost extra. She wrote him a check right there. $25,000. I saw the memo line, special consulting. You're willing to testify to that? If I have protection. If my mom's medical bills are covered while I look for another job. If, Julia looked at Maya, if you promise this isn't just revenge, that it's about protecting the kids, it's about protecting the truth. Maya pulled out her phone, showed Julia the draft email. Robert kept receipts, so did we. The difference is ours prove conspiracy, yours prove intent. Together we can make sure Vanessa doesn't do this to anyone else. Julia read the draft. Her hands shook. Okay, I'll do it. But not quietly. If we're doing this, we do it right. Public, on record, so nobody can make it disappear. 2 days later, the foundation held an emergency press conference, not the board. Maya, with Nicholas standing beside her, Keisha coordinating and Julia Chen on Zoom from an undisclosed location with her lawyer present. The room was packed. Reporters, donors, board members, students, teachers. Ms. Patterson in the front row, Destiny beside her. Maya stood at the podium, hands steady on prepared remarks she'd written at 3 a.m. 3 weeks ago, an anonymous email accused me of using my position for personal gain. The allegations were specific, damaging, and strategically designed to destroy the foundation's credibility during our largest fundraising quarter. I resigned because I believed that protecting the foundation's reputation mattered more than protecting my own. She paused. Let that sit. I was wrong. Because what I didn't know then, what none of us knew, is that the email wasn't about ethics or accountability. It was about revenge, and it was created through corporate espionage, theft of private financial records, and conspiracy to defame. The room erupted. Questions shouted from every direction. Maya raised a hand. I have evidence. Multiple sources. Let me present them in order. She pulled up the first slide. Robert Thorne's invoice to Vanessa. This is payment for consulting services. $25,000 paid 3 days before the anonymous email was sent. The consultant? Robert Thorne, CPA, accountant to the Hale family for 15 years, and uncle to Vanessa Thorne, whose prior relationship with Nicholas Hale is well documented. Next slide. The draft email. This is a message recovered from Foundation servers. Written by Robert Thorne, never sent but archived. It outlines strategy for building a public narrative designed to maximize damage by framing my promotion as corruption rather than merit. Note the language. Note the intent. The reporters were typing furiously. Camera flashes lit the room. Maya kept going. Third piece of evidence. Testimony from Julia Chen, former assistant to Robert Thorne, who witnessed conversations between Robert and Vanessa in October. Julia? On the screen, Julia appeared, nervous but clear. I heard Ms. Thorne tell my employer that she wanted Maya Collins gone and discredited. She paid him $25,000 in cash for what she called special consulting. I didn't understand what that meant until the email went public and I recognized the timeline. I'm prepared to testify under oath that Vanessa Thorne orchestrated this campaign with my employer's assistance. The room exploded again. A reporter shouted, "Do you have corroboration?" Yes. Maya pulled up the final document. Affidavit from Richard Castellano, attorney at law, former partner to Robert Thorne. Mr. Castellano states that Vanessa Thorne consulted him in October regarding, quote, how to legally discredit a nonprofit director without exposing myself to litigation. He declined the work and documented the conversation per Bar Association ethics requirements. He's willing to testify if necessary. Maya stepped back from the podium. Let the evidence speak. I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm asking for accountability. Vanessa Thorne used stolen financial information, paid for defamation, and weaponized my honesty to settle a personal score. In the process, she endangered scholarships for 93 students, partnerships with 18 schools, and the livelihoods of everyone who works for this foundation. That's not a personal attack. That's corporate sabotage. Nicholas stepped forward. First time he'd spoken. The foundation is filing a civil suit against Vanessa Thorne and Robert Thorne for defamation, conspiracy, and tortious interference. We're also requesting an independent audit, not of Maya's work, but of Robert Thorne's access to my personal financial records, and whether he violated fiduciary duty by sharing confidential information. Additionally, I'm severing all business relationships with Robert Thorne effective immediately. A reporter near the back. Mr. Hale, are you in a romantic relationship with Ms. Collins? Yes. Nicholas didn't hesitate. We began dating in late November, after Maya had proven herself professionally through measurable outcomes. Her promotion was based on merit, documented by the board's own metrics. The relationship is personal. The work is professional, and anyone who can't distinguish between the two doesn't understand what integrity looks like. The room went silent. Then Destiny stood up. 18 years old, future engineer, voice steady. I'm one of the scholarship recipients. Before this foundation, I had a 4.0 GPA and no way to afford college. Maya didn't know me. Didn't owe me anything. But she read my application, connected me with mentors, and made sure I got resources nobody else would give me. Because of her, I'm going to Columbia. Because of her, my mom doesn't have to choose between dialysis and my tuition. So if someone tried to destroy her because they were jealous, that's not a scandal. That's a crime. And I'll testify to that anywhere, anytime. Ms. Patterson stood next. Then another teacher. Then a student from Queens, another from the Bronx, a college counselor from Brooklyn. One by one, they testified. Not about romance or rumors. About outcomes. About changed lives. About a foundation that did exactly what it promised because someone finally cared more about results than optics. By the time the press conference ended 2 hours later, The narrative had shifted. Not scandal forces director out, but billionaire's ex-orchestrated campaign to destroy charity. Not Cinderella story ends in shame, but foundation. Director fights back with receipts. Vanessa, Thorne's lawyer, issued a statement denying everything. 3 days later, Robert Thorne's firm dropped her as a client. A week after that, 2 former employees came forward with additional testimony about Vanessa's pattern of retaliation. The civil suit moved forward. The foundation's donations doubled, and Maya, she stood in the office with the window, surrounded by people who believed her, and realized that sometimes the test isn't whether you can survive betrayal. It's whether you're brave enough to fight back when everything says to stay quiet. The settlement came through in February. Vanessa paid damages, issued a public apology, and agreed to cease all contact with Foundation personnel. Robert Thorne lost his CPA license, paid fines, and quietly retired. Julia Chen got a new job with the Foundation, full benefits, assistance with her mother's medical bills, and a real shot at a career that didn't require compromising her ethics. Maya's resignation was rescinded. The board voted unanimously to reinstate her as Director of Community Partnerships with an expanded role and a formal apology for their initial response. She accepted, but she also made them change the bylaws. No more temporary leave for allegations without evidence. No more presuming guilt to protect reputation. If they were going to build a foundation on integrity, it had to start with how they treated their own people. Spring brought new students, new partnerships, new beginnings. The foundation expanded to 12 cities, 147 scholarships awarded, partnerships with 31 schools, every decision documented, every dollar accounted for, not because of paranoia but because transparency built trust. Nicholas sold the Connecticut house but kept one thing, the photo album. He gave it to his sister, who'd moved back from California with her daughter. Family dinners became a regular thing. Slow, awkward healing. He was learning that trust didn't require tests, just showing up, consistently, honestly, even when it was uncomfortable. One evening in April, Maya and Nicholas sat on the foundation's rooftop, watching the city turn gold in the sunset. She'd finally finished her pharmacy degree, graduated with honors, walked across that stage with her grandmother's rosary in her pocket and a job offer already signed. So, Nicholas handed her coffee, exactly how she liked it. Director of Community Partnerships, licensed pharmacist, and minor celebrity after that press conference. What's next? Maya smiled. I got an email from a graduate student in California. She's studying nonprofit governance and wants to write her thesis on ethical accountability and philanthropy, using our case as the model. The case where my ex-girlfriend tried to destroy you? The case where we proved that integrity beats sabotage. Every time. She sipped her coffee. She wants to interview me. Talk about building systems that protect truth-tellers instead of punishing them. You should do it. I will, but not alone. Maya looked at him. This isn't just my story. It's ours. The broken billionaire who tested people until someone called him on it. The waitress who returned a wallet because her grandmother taught her character. The foundation built on second chances and radical transparency. That's the story worth telling. Nicholas took her hand. For the record, I never thought you were broken. I know, but I was a little, just like you. She squeezed his fingers. The difference is we fixed ourselves together. Not because we needed saving, but because we needed witness. Someone who'd see the truth and stay anyway. I'm staying. I know. She leaned against his shoulder. So am I. Below them, the city hummed with life. Students finishing applications. Teachers writing recommendations. Families making impossible choices about money and dreams and futures. And somewhere in that noise, the foundation kept working, quietly, consistently, proving that honesty wasn't naive, it was revolutionary, because the real test isn't whether you can survive betrayal. It's whether you can build something better on the other side, whether you can take the worst someone throws at you and turn it into proof that integrity wins, not always quickly, not always cleanly, but eventually, inevitably, truth rises. Maya had returned a wallet because it was the right thing to do. Nicholas had stopped testing people because he finally met someone worth trusting. Together, they'd built a foundation that proved goodness wasn't performative. It was structural, intentional, possible, and sometimes, just sometimes, the Cinderella story doesn't end with a glass slipper. It ends with a partnership built on boundaries, dignity, and the revolutionary act of believing someone when they show you who they are. The moral? Return what isn't yours, fight for what is, and never underestimate the power of showing up, consistently, honestly, when no one's watching, because that's when character becomes legacy. So here's our question for you. What would you have done in Maya's position? Would you have resigned quietly or fought back publicly? Drop your answer in the comments below. We love hearing your stories. And if this one resonated with you, hit that subscribe button because we've got more stories about ordinary people doing extraordinary things when tested by impossible circumstances. Thanks for watching, and remember, integrity always leaves receipts.